So I know you are the conference that you're hosting here is a part of a bigger organization, right? So what services, help, assistance, girl, talk to me, do you provide for women?
So our goal is to bridge the gap between women entrepreneurs on an international level. So under our former administration, President Barack Obama, he had an initiative for small businesses to increase the amount of business that they were doing internationally. And when I looked at it, I said it's less than 1% of businesses that even think about doing business beyond their immediate community. So what could we do to expand that? So we started creating programming to enrich people with professional development. So gaining skills to help you with social media marketing or understanding finance. How do you go out and get money when the banks won't give you money? What resources are available to you? And then along with that is the personal development. A lot of times we just figure, oh, I need to learn this and I can execute. No, you have to have a community around you to help you build.
Woo! We are here and we are live. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Speaker Circle. I am so excited for our guest today. I just had to show that little clip of something that she did beforehand just to set the stage that we are going to be engaging with an expert here about getting on that stage. A lot of us have been doing some stage work or have already been out there speaking, but you are ready to elevate. You're ready to get on that international stage, or you're just like, look, I'm ready to get on the stage. So I'm sure the tips that she will share and things that she will share with you today is going to help you get on that stage. So what I need you guys to do is to invite someone, share this with those that you know that are speakers, that are looking to be speakers, becoming speakers. They are already speakers, because I'm telling you, today is the day that we're going to learn and glean. So if you're catching a live, thank you for being here. If you're catching the replay, guess what? It's the same information. Woo! So that's the exciting part about it. But definitely we want you here live and in color if you can. And so I'm Lanice McGee. I'm going to be your host today. And so I want to invite you all to ask questions in the chat box, okay? So you're going to hear some great information today. I'm excited too. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing that. I'm excited too. So as you guys are hearing the information, I want you guys to ask questions, and I will make sure at the end of the presentation we go back and we get your questions answered. So that's the important thing about being live, because you're right here and you can get your questions answered. So I'm super excited to have Angel Livas with us today. Why am I excited? Because she is an international best-selling author. You already seen the interview clip that she has, that she helps businesses, she helps individuals set the tone for where they need to go to that next level. So what level are you at? Are you ready to upskill? Are you ready to move up? I know that I am, and I'm so glad that you guys are here today. She is an entrepreneur herself. Everything she's talking about today, she has been about. That's why she can talk about it. So I'm so excited to be here. She's the CEO of DC Media Connection. She utilizes her sense of video skills and production to create and attract new clients. What skills are you using to attract new clients? Come on now. She has a list. Her list goes on and on. She has been listed and highlighted by Washington's Business Journal under People on the Move. I'm ready to be on the move. Y'all ready to move with me today? I'm ready to move and groove, because I'm ready to get on that stage. And the important thing, I'm so excited today because she's going to talk about gaining an international stage through the power of storytelling. And the thing about this, once we learn the skill of storytelling, that's going to work on any stage, right? I have, and I don't know if they're going to be joining us today. I have two friends that come straight to mind when I think about storytelling. Brandy Iberia, if you have ever met her, I'm telling you, she can tell a story, and I literally can visualize, like I'm sitting there and I can see the whole story in my head as if I was a part of the story. She is that good and she is that engaging. And I have another friend named Chanel Fitzpatrick. I'm telling you, I look forward to just sitting and going over and talking to her, because her storytelling is so powerful. But some of you may be listening today and say, look, I don't have a powerful story. I'm not really good at that. Guess what? It's a skill that can be built. Hey, that's all. It's a skill that can be built. We're about building today. Y'all ready to build? Let's lay this brick. Let's do some foundational work today. Come on, get your pens, get your paper, and share this with a friend. I'm going to bring her up because I don't want to belabor the time. And again, remember, use the comment box to ask your questions. So at the end, I can make sure that I am asking that. So how we show some love in the virtual world is we give hearts, we give thumbs up. That's what we do. So give some love for our speaker, Miss Angel. Angel, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me. I love that whole intro. It was so full of energy and excitement, everything that you need to push to the next level as a speaker. I love it.
So I'm so excited that you're here. I'm going to go ahead and step out the room, and you have the stage, and we're so excited to see what you're going to share with us today.
All right. So you want me to go ahead and pull up? All right. So
yeah,
already
it's all yours.
Oh, okay. So I'm super excited to be here with everybody right now. I'm going to pull up a presentation, but before I do, I want to know where everybody is checking in from, because we may have some people who are international and they're in Ghana, or they may be in the Caribbean. So put in the chat box where you are checking in from so I can engage with you and really be able to speak with you. Hey, Milwaukee, I see you. I see you. So I can really engage with you and hopefully make this even more personal to what it is that you need and want to get out of this experience. All right. All right. So here we go. We are going to share this screen real quick, and let's see. Let's go. All right. So the point of today's conversation is to help everybody gain an international speaking opportunity by way of storytelling. Now, what exactly does that mean? Well, the power of storytelling is all about how do you connect to your target audience through the stories that you're sharing. So I have created a PowerPoint, which typically, like, I'm just up and about, but we're going to rock with this PowerPoint. It's virtual world now. All right, so here is a quick synopsis of what you're going to experience. We're going to learn about how to train your brain. We're going to go over how you can gain the courage to get on those stages and to really wow those stages, how to become a conqueror, and then how do you become a catalyst or a change agent for what it is that you are speaking about. Now, mindful thinking. Typically, we have around 12,000 to 60,000 thoughts a day, which is crazy, right? Like, and so when you think about just how many thoughts are going through your mind within a 24-hour period, I want to ask you, and I need y'all to engage with me, okay? I want to know how many of those thoughts do you think are negative? Of those 12,000 to 60,000 thoughts that you have in a day, how many do you think are negative? Write it in the chat box. I'm gonna let y'all think while I sip my tea. Y'all can just take a wild guess. 2,000. Okay. Anybody else got an idea? 5? Really? I need your mind. All right. Based on scientific evidence, 80%, yes, I said that right, 80% of those thoughts that we have, of those 12 to 60,000, are negative. Now, what does that mean? It means that for the most part, we're our own worst enemy. So most of the time, our brain is conditioning us to protect us. Our brain, that's its job. You know, like, so if we get anxious or we get worried or whatever it is, our brain's main function is to say, okay, this is fearful. Let's step away from that. We don't want that. But you have to retrain your brain to know that, like, hey, no, this is something that I really want. And you really just have to dive in and go after it. All right. So let's see. What typically happens is you gain a level of anxiety, right? fear kicks in. You become stressed. You start to panic. There's tension, there's despair, depression. And the one thing that I think everybody encounters before they step foot on the stage, they get a little bit of nervousness. But I think that nervousness is good because it lets us know, hey, like, I need to show up and I need to be my absolute best when I step on this stage. So if you look at fear in general, fear is a feeling of anxiety concerning the outcome of something. So it's unpleasant, it's an emotion, and most of us, we don't like to feel like we're in a state of fear. So a lot of times we start running through our minds all these fearful things, and the next thing you know, we're stuck. We're sitting there and we're just like, yeah, I was going to do that. Or you'll be told people like, I'm going to do this and I'm going to make this happen, yada, yada, yada. And then you have these like realizations that you're like, yeah, nah, I thought that was going to be my situation, but I need to retract this. I need to do something different. And that's something where anybody on the line have ever felt that way? Have you ever felt like, yo, I'm about to do this, I'm about to make some things happen, and then you retract because you're just like, okay, yeah, this is a bit much. I don't even really want that right now. So in 2014, this was me. And this was actually shortly before I became stuck. And I can say that my life up into 2014 was like, literally like, what's her name song? Living my life like it's golden. That was my life. Like, I was doing everything. I was working with celebrities. I was starting TV shows. I was starting radio shows, mainly radio shows, not really TV shows, mainly like virtual television programs, like on YouTube. So everybody from like Shaka Khan to Russell Simmons to Larry King, to Spike Lee, Dan Marino, Terry McMillan. I absolutely love Terry McMillan, by the way. But this was my reality. Like, these were the people that I was able to work with day in, day out. Right before I had my second son, who was born in 2014, I had won my first Gracie, which is almost the equivalent to an Emmy for women in media. And after I had my son, it was like everything shifted. My entire world shifted. My department closed. And now I had 2 babies. I was married at the time. I'm now divorced, but I had 2 babies at the time and no job. And so it's like, okay, well, what are you supposed to do with that? How do you come out of that? So my thing was, okay, well, I'll just go find another good job. Little did I know the job that I had, it was amazing. And so I wasn't going to find something else right away making the money that I was making. And so my reality was, okay, well, I'm going to have to do something different to change how everything ends up. But in doing something different, oftentimes imposter syndrome kicks in. That's that faulty feeling of not measuring up, not being enough. But if you're faith driven, like I am, and I hope y'all are, because I'm about to go a little spiritual on y'all. If you have that faith, then you're able to tap into your internal compass. You're able to really look inside who you are and figure out, what is it that I have to offer? Now, in figuring that out, you have to look at things and say, okay, am I burying my talents? Is there anything that I really should have been doing my entire life that I look at and I just keep pushing it aside? Or I'm not really tapping into it, and yet people are constantly telling you, like, you are gifted in this area, or dude, like you can be making a whole lot of money doing this, or you need to share your story. And so a lot of times you have to think about like who you were as a child, that inner voice that's inside of you, and the things that you were passionate about doing as a child, looking at those things. But then also looking at today and saying, okay, well, what are my passion points? What am I most passionate about? What brings me pleasure? What do I do effortlessly? And I love it, right? But then after doing all of those things, being able to look at things and say, you know what, let me just take some time, meditate or pray, and really have like a come to Jesus meeting with myself and identify, what should I be doing? How am I going to transition to this next level? you have a story inside of you. Most of the time, that story is tied to either a passion of yours or an experience of yours. But when you're just looking at the passion, I want you to think about something. In order for you to generate revenue, and yes, we're talking about getting on stages, but who wants to just go on a stage and not be paid? You want to generate revenue from speaking. You want to generate revenue from whatever it is that you're doing by sharing, because that is your time and you're sharing that time with the world. So you want to think about, is your passion solving a problem? And I really need you guys to write that down, because a lot of times people's passions are really just hobbies. They want to talk about things that is just important to them. But you really have to be able to dig deep and look at the things that will really change someone else's life. How can you implement change? How can you make somebody else's life better? Even if it's very simple. But you have to be able to look at it and say, I know that this is going to change somebody's life for the positive, and it's something that they're willing to pay for. If your things can check those marks, check those boxes, then you're ready to go. All right. Y'all ready to dive in? Can I get a little interaction in the chat box? How, y'all ready? All right. Here we go, y'all. The first thing that I need you to understand is that you have to gain your courage. Now, what do I mean by that? So I have a talk show called The Woman Behind the Business. And The Woman Behind the Business, my favorite segment in the show is called Moments from the Valley. Now, during the show, that's when a guest shares a time in their life that they did not know how they were going to make it out of a particular situation. So they're sharing how they made it out, what it was that they were making it out of, and then how and what was waiting for them on the other side. Now, why this is so powerful is because it allows you to tap into a space that most of us try to shun. We try to run from it. We don't want to think about those moments when we're down and out and we don't know how we're going to make it out of a situation. Those are the things that we're like, okay, I've been delivered from this, or I've made it through this. And so I want to put that behind me. Well, I'm here to challenge you and tell you that 9 times out of 10, whatever that challenging moment is, so whatever that thing is that had you scared, confused, without, feeling inadequate, whatever those things are, that is your storm. Your storm are those moments where you did not know how you were going to make it out. And instead of us burying our storms, I want to challenge you to share your storm. And so in order to do that, you first have to believe, right? We tell ourselves, nobody wants to hear that. That's nothing. That's not going to help anybody. But that's the furthest thing from the truth. You see, when I first started speaking, it was all my truth because that's all I had. If the only thing I can come to the table with is my experiences, that's all that's needed. But people don't want superficial. People don't want you to get on a stage and just preach to them about, oh, I have this, I have that. They want to know, well, how did you get it? How did you get there? So I could just tell you oh, yes, a powerful story is something that connects to the heart of your audience. That's what a powerful story is. If you were in journalism school, when I was back at Howard University, that's what you were taught. That in order to connect to the audience or the heart of your audience, you have to reach them at a level that they can connect with. That's true. And that's the same thing that I'm telling you. But I'm giving you another way of looking at that. When you're able to tap into something that is completely unsuperficial, 100% honest, and transparent from things that made you hurt, there's somebody else out there that's hurting, and there's nobody who has shared what they have gone through to help them through. So now when we talked about, okay, well, is your passion something that is going to translate into something that's going to help somebody? Now you have something. Now you have something that is tangible, that people can literally walk away and say, I needed that. And most of the time, even if it's not a direct relevancy, they can connect to the story. So let me give you an example. I showed you earlier the picture in 2014 when I had my son. And I said, this was an amazing time in my life. Like right before all of those things, I had so many amazing things going on. And so what were some of those amazing things? Well, I got pregnant. Now, to some people, that may not sound like a big deal, but for me, it was everything. I went through 5 miscarriages before I was able to have my sons. And so literally reoccurring miscarriages where the idea, the possibility of me being able to have them was almost like null and void, as though this may never happen for me. But then it did. So now I had something that was worth sharing. I had something that I could go before an audience and speak to, heal myself while helping the next person. See, in order to be a powerful storyteller that can go and beyond borders, you have to speak a language that everybody understands. And the language that everybody understands is love, is pain, and growth. So when you can tap into those emotions, when you can share unapologetically, you can hook your audience and give them something where they want more. They have questions. They want to understand, well, how do I get from this pain or whatever it is that I'm dealing with to where you are? So now when you've been able to do that, you become what I call a conqueror. You've conquered the ability to overcome your own fears and to share it with the world. So now you can see the parallel, and in this it says, don't just plan, but build. Your story matters, right? So if you think about everything that I just said, it essentially is almost like a mathematics formula. Your storm becomes your story, right? So your storm plus your story is clearly going to equal something too, right? And so when we put all of it together, your storm becomes your story, and your story becomes your stage. When you can be selfless and share everything that you've been through, that gives you something that nobody else can bring to the conversation. Your authentic story is something only you can tell. And there are millions of people waiting to hear your story. Now, I'm going to even push this a little bit more. But before I do, I just want to show you guys something. When I started in 2014, well, I started my company in 2015. But when I started, I had no idea which way I was going to go. Now, entrepreneurship seemed easy to me because I grew up in an entrepreneurial home. Both my parents are entrepreneurs, have been since I was born, and they still are to this day. So I was familiar with that world. But getting started and not only speaking, but you got to be able to turn those speaking engagements into profits as well. And to have products to go along with that. So when I started, I didn't have all of this. Over time, I've literally spoke the far picture where I'm in the blue pantsuit and like the African adornment around my neck, I was in Ghana speaking for the second time at that particular event. In the middle picture, I was in the Bahamas interviewing Tasha Page Lockhart, a gospel artist. A lot of these are actually in the Caribbean, Detroit, DC. But your story can take you wherever it is that you want to go. But most importantly, you have to be transparent with your story. People can feel when you're being honest. People can feel when you are being authentic. And that's what they want. All you need is the right opportunity to show up in a place and to speak. And it may not even be on a stage. You may just be talking to somebody, but they hear the passion in your voice, because this has been my truth, right? I can talk to people and they will hear the passion and say, hey, do you talk about this? Mm-hmm. I would love to have you come speak to my organization. Or I would love to come have you speak, or to have you speak at this event. Being transparent, being authentic, it goes a long way. And so I always tell people to walk in your truth. Don't just walk in your truth when you're on that stage. Because there's a lot of times there's people around you who are listening and you have no idea who they are or what they may be able to do for you. And so it goes back to that passion. If what you're talking is from a place of passion, there's nothing more great, like nothing is greater than passion. If you put me up against somebody who has the education to speak on something versus somebody who's been through the fire, who do you think people want to hear from? Because they can never say what you have done or what you have been through. But you can always add education and the statistics to your conversation to make it more of substance, if you will. But they can never do what you can. So I want to show you guys, because I feel like my time is almost up. Am I doing okay on time? All right, let's see. 5 years later, I have a sustainable business and we work in government, nonprofit, corporate. I travel across the world speaking. I have a nonprofit with a global reach. I've touched the lives of thousands, helping them to reach and tap into their dreams. And this year alone, just this year, 2020, everybody know 2020 has been an interesting year. I've traveled to Thailand in January before all the craziness. I hosted my international retreat in the Bahamas in February. I had 2 books come out. I've created a platform, a social justice platform, produced and premiered a documentary, which have won awards. I'm currently on a global speaking tour, even though we're on and during this whole global pandemic. I'm speaking to you guys right now, right? So things have not slowed down. Now, how do you do this? How do you get and build your stage? So the one thing I want to go through is remember that your story is what the world needs. But it has to come from a place of authenticity. I cannot say that enough. I challenge you to write this equation. Storm plus story equals stage. Stage, once you get on the stage, that's where your store comes from. That is where your money comes from. That is where people can learn about the things that you do and the value add that it has. So here are some of the different things that you can do to build that global presence. One, build your own international platform. My very first international speaking engagement, I created myself. When I started my nonprofit, The Woman Behind the Business, our very first retreat was in Nassau, Bahamas. So not only did I create a space and a platform, but I also created an experience from it. So we had people from all over the world attend, and that was also my very first international speaking engagement. The way that the world is set up today, you don't have to wait for anybody to tell you, to accept you, to create the opportunity for you. You have all the power to do that, but you have to put in the work. I'm not going to say it was easy. The day that our initial retreat was supposed to take place, Hurricane Irene hit, but it was okay. We still made it through. And as I said earlier, we had our retreat earlier this year as well. So it's been ongoing since it started. The second thing that you can do is write a book. Writing a book is, to me, not even really about writing the book. It's about the opportunities that the book affords you. The book is your kind of like your resume into the door, to create a space for people to see you, to take you seriously. And it's almost like, I wonder, like, if you just put a bunch of fluff in a book, please don't do this, but if people would still just say, oh, well, this person has a book, so come on, you can, because that's almost what it's like. People see you have a book and they're like, oh, dang, you an author? Oh, okay. But again, you have to put in the work. These are all things that you have 100% control over creating. Become a subject matter expert. Now, how do you do that? Becoming a subject matter expert it just comes from talking. Speak, 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 speak. I cannot stress it enough. Speaking gives you and affords you the opportunity to really show people what you know. Now, on social media today, there are a lot of people who want to push product, that want to sell things to you. Imagine this. Imagine just being able to talk to people. Let them know like some important information, some powerful information that you are just giving to them. You're not asking them to buy. You would be surprised by how many people see just the information that you're sharing. And because you're not inundating them with buy this, do this, all these call to actions, when somebody's speaking about, yo, I need somebody that can do X, Y, or Z, or I need this, or whatever, then they will find you, or they think of you. Like, oh, I know somebody who talks about that. Oh, let me go to their social media page. But we don't always think like that. We don't always have those things top of mind to show up in a way where we're memorable, not because we're always selling, but because we're giving people, going back to something valuable. People remember value, even if they don't remember how much stuff costs. If it's something that's going to benefit them and is good for them and makes their life easier, people remember those things. Last but not least, profess your desires over your life. Speak it. And I don't just mean in private. In private, yes, you're going to meditate, you're going to pray. But when I say profess it, I mean let people know this is what I do. This is what I speak about. Even before you've uttered your first example on a stage, tell people this is what you do. Now, I want to be clear. Be ready, because if somebody says, yo, I need you next week, you should know, okay, well, this is what I talk about. This is what can happen. But I say that because a lot of times, And I think that this really speaks to women more than the men. A lot of times as women, we will not do that because we don't feel like we have all the boxes checked. Most of the time we've created. And so we're not ready to speak it yet. Because it's almost like, well, I need the opportunity. Once I get the opportunity, I'll create the program. Once I create the program, then I'll accept it and then I will do. Well, the problem with that formula is you're always going to be waiting on somebody to give you permission. If you start speaking it, if you declare over your life that this is who I am and this is what I will do, you will see how things will start to shift and start to change in your favor. But again, you have to be ready. You have to be willing to do the work. You can't just say, oh yeah, I speak. And then somebody say, okay, well, what do you talk about? And you have no idea. Being ready to speak and professing these things over your life is also saying, I have a media kit, right? I have my talking points. I know what I talk about. I talk about women in business. I talk about helping people transition into full-time entrepreneurship. I talk about helping moms balance life between mom and boss. I talk about social media marketing. These are my key speaking points. If you can't articulate that, then you're not ready. But you have to get ready. If this is what you want, this is your season to get ready. There should be nothing holding you back. We've been trapped in the house for months now. And when this is all said and done, if I'm able to still have a global speaking tour in this season, imagine what I'm going to be doing and was doing when this is over. But you can't just say, this is what I want and not put in any work. And you should actually have things to show for it. So let's talk about a media kit real quick. Your media kit, it should have your speaking subject matters. What are the things that people should hire you to speak about? A professional headshot. Who are you? What do you look like? Is it downloadable? Is it on a website? Do you have a website? Your media kit should have certain key things ready and available. A bio. You should have a short bio or your abbreviated bio and a long bio. Your media kit really only needs your abbreviated bio, and you can direct them, if you have a website, to your website to get all of the additional things to go in there or that go in your full bio, right? So you have your headshot, you have your bio, you have your talking points. Well, what have you done? Have you done any speaking before? Do you have links that you can tie to? Have you been on television? Have you been recognized by any organizations? Have you received any awards? What makes you a subject matter expert? Even if it points people to YouTube Lives or YouTube Lives or any other social media platform where you are speaking live. Do you have those links gathered? Just depending on where you are in your speaking journey, start with where you are. So you add those links, you add information about what you are equipped to speak about. And then most importantly, and this is actually crazy, but a lot of people forget to put their contact information. Where do I get a hold of you if I'm interested in hiring you to speak at one of my events? You have to gather all of that, right? So you have your media kit that you want to make sure it's ready to go. Now, if we look back at the slide, how will your story land you on a global stage? 1, build your own international platform. There's an action item there. Build. Write a book. You got to write it. That's your action item. Become a subject matter expert. You got to speak. You got to let people know this is who you are. This is what you do. And you can also write articles in that regard, right? Profess your desires over your life. Your action item is you have to speak it. So each one of those 4 elements requires you to do something. This isn't just something that is going to magically happen. And, going back to what we were talking about in regards to, how your mind can trick you, how your mind can make you feel stuck. This is your opportunity, especially in this season, to step outside of all of those things and build something that is important to you. If all you really want to do is speak, baby, you got some work to do. Because it's not going to just happen. You have to put in the work. You have to be willing to go against the grain. There are not a lot of people who are willing to share from an unapologetically honest, transparent space. There's people who want the opportunity, but there's a whole lot more people who won't do the work. So that is pretty much what I have for you all for tonight. I know I wanted to leave some time and space for questions. So I wanted to do a giveaway. So if you guys follow me on my Instagram page, I'm going to be checking. And before we get off, I'm going to pick a number, and whoever falls in that number from joining or following my Instagram page, you guys will receive a prize tonight. I guess she's going to come back on. So I hope that you guys enjoyed it. Did you guys want to drop me a note in the chat box? Let me know what y'all thought. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yes, no, go ahead. People still saying where they're from, Milwaukee. All right, that's all right. Come in, Milwaukee. Yes. This was great. This was really, really good. I was taking notes myself and writing down questions. So I hope that everyone that is watching the live, and I know people will watch the replay as well. And
we have questions. Good.
Yes, we're gonna get a lot of information from this. This was really, really good. And I just want to point out what you said. I thought that was so good. Your storm plus your story equals your stage. And so, wow, this was amazing. So a question that I have for you, and I know this has been asked to me before. What if you don't have a storm? Like your life.
Everybody has a storm.
So they just have to do a little bit more digging then and try to figure out what that storm is.
Everybody has a storm. Mm-hmm. I don't care who you are. Everybody has a moment where you were like, how am I going to make it out of this? Now, everybody's storms are different. Now, even if we look at it from like your moments from the valley, right? Again, like this has been on my show for the last 3 years. And so I've had people say everything from, well, I remember in high school, I didn't get on the cheerleading team, right? So that was her storm. Okay. Now, for me, I'm like, really? You almost 50 years old, that's the only storm you had? You had a good life, baby. Even though, like, it's just some things that people don't want to talk about.
Right.
To me, I think it's more that than they haven't had a storm.
Right.
And most of the time, it goes back to what I said. You don't want to share your storm because it's something that you've tucked far, far away from you. And you don't want to have that association with you.
That's good. So you talked about so much good stuff. So what, as a speaker, international speaker, writing books and all the stuff that you do, what do you spend most of your time on as you're building your brand? Because another thing that happens is people get inundated with all this, sign up for this, go to this class, do this, do that. So like, how do you, I guess it's 2 questions. How do you remain focused on like what's important, and what do you, being successful as you are and all the stuff that you're doing, what is something that you spend most of your time on as you're building your speaking career?
changing, growing.
Mm-hmm.
I think we often think, okay, well, if you're focused, you're not doing anything else. I am the epitome of the person who challenges that, right? And I say that from a space of, again, like in regards to like the spiritual side of me, right? I don't believe that God gave me one talent and that's all God made me here to do, and that's it. If I truly believe in the power of God, then I know that there's so much in me and so much fire, so much purpose, and so much that I'm supposed to fulfill.
Mm-hmm.
That it's not as though I'm all over the place, but it's always, how do I strategically align everything that I'm doing? So if you think about, and this is a great question because I'm actually in the middle of a rebrand for this very reason, right? So all of those things that I mentioned that have been accomplished this year, 2 books, we have our international retreat. I'm still the founder of a nonprofit. I'm a CEO of DC Media Connection. We did a documentary this year. So there's some new things that came into the fold, right? So it was, okay, well, where do these things fall under? Yeah, DC Media Connection produced it, but it's still under the architect of Angel. So what I did was, there's this book, and I encourage you guys to read it. It's called Your One Word. It's by the author Evan Carmichael. Now, this was I read it earlier this year. And in reading this book, he essentially challenges us to say, out of everything that you do, no matter what it is, what is your one word? Why are you here on earth? What were you positioned most to be effective at doing? And when I thought about it, and I took some months. Now, this is not an exercise that you do. You read the book and you're like, oh, I have my revelation. No, if you really take the time to do the exercise and to understand it, it's going to take some time. After figuring out what my one word is, I will reveal it to your audience for the first time live somewhere. So you get like a little debut here. My one word is alive. Mm. And so figuring out what your one word is. So for instance, in the book, it talks about other one words. So we've all heard of the Honest Company, right? Mm-hmm. Well, that was their one word, honesty or honest. And the reason how it became their one word was they wanted products that were honest, that were, true and transparent with what was inside of them and how it would affect your family or usage. My one word speaks to everything that I do, no matter what platform I'm on, no matter what book I've written, no matter what it is that I'm doing. My goal is to help people not only live, but be alive. And so that is what I am bringing together under my new brand that's going to be launching the top of October.
So is that kind of how you decide what to release to, if it doesn't kind of fall under that, or?
Yeah, so exactly, right? But even with the what falls in, what doesn't, there's always, when there's a will, there's a way. So even under Alive, I've created 3 pillars. So there's you kind of saw it in the presentation. There's courage, there's conquer, and there's catalyst, which are essentially the 3 things that my 3 buckets in what I believe is all about being alive. You have to conquer your fears. You have to be courageous in everything that you do, and to really be a change agent or a catalyst so that you're having an impact in creating change, not just for yourself, for others around you.
Wow. With all of that you've done, what has been the most difficult thing for you to kind of push through in all of this?
Interesting. The most difficult to push through. I think I don't know, honestly. I mean, if I had to say something, I would say the one thing that I feel like it's ever evolving is my media company. Because I mean, even if we look at this year, it's gone from helping people with social media to just kind of strictly video production to digital storytelling. And then now it's helping companies do like their online virtuals and things like that. But just being able to pivot, I think that is the one thing that why most businesses fail. They're so tied to what they started off doing and their reason for doing things that they're not willing to pivot. Well, pivoting is only modifying so that you stay relevant to your target audience. That's all the pivot is. So if your audience has become comfortable with who you are, actually, I'm gonna give you an example of something that just went in this article that I did. When you think about restaurants, right? A lot of restaurants closed during 2020 because they weren't willing to pivot or they couldn't think of different ways to pivot. Well, because a lot of people were not going out to eat does not mean that there were people in need of food. They didn't have time to go home and cook dinner. So you think about the non-essential workers. If you think about hospitals, police stations, different places where they were required to be at work, EMS, all of these different operational locations that still had a requirement to show up and do duty. If you were a restaurant, you could have partnered with these organizations and said, hey, we want to function as your cafeteria. We'll deliver food to you. If you guys, like, we'll be open, we will make ourselves available so that you can always have something to eat, whether it's for lunch, dinner, whatever. That's just a pivot. That's all that was.
Wow. So you said so much good stuff, and we're about to wrap up. So if anybody has questions, let us know. But how do you stay in front of knowing when you're supposed to pivot? How do you stay in front of the trends? Like when this happened, like you said, I had another question, but we're not going to go there. Like you said, a digital story, like that's different than just telling your story. I'm assuming like being a storyteller, but how do you, or what advice would you give for people to stay in front of the trends so that they are able to pivot, turn, and do what they need to do?
So a lot of it, I think, especially in this season, because things are ever changing, you really just have to be mindful, paying attention to what's happening, watching and listening to things around you. A lot of times you don't have to wait until some massive storm takes place for you to be able to watch how other people around you are moving, right? So my book, Her Therapy, I actually wrote it last year, but I didn't it didn't go to print last year. I was like, I didn't produce it. See, I'm getting my TV and books mixed up. I didn't go to print last year. And so when COVID hit, and I knew as a parent, like, okay, my kids are home. This was in March. Now I'm a teacher. I've been voluntold that this is a new responsibility that I have. I'm not the only person that's impacted by that. The rest of the world, anybody who has children, they're impacted, right? So instead of me going to print with the same copy that I wrote last year, I made modifications to it because I'm paying attention to the changes that are happening. Nobody had to tell me, hey, this would be a good idea. But it was relevant because that book is all about balancing life as mom and boss. Well, now you're balancing life as mom and boss with your children in the same room as you or in the same household as you. So what are some things that are different? And, making guides and making different things to parallel with that. So I think it's just a matter of paying attention to your surroundings.
Wow. Thank you so much. This has been amazing. Do you have any last words, any last advice that you would give those that are listening, and definitely those that will be watching the replay or even on YouTube, because it will be there as well? Any advice to share with them?
I think that, again, just be willing to do the work. That is the differentiator. At the end of the day, that is the true differentiator. There are a lot of people who say that they want success. They say that they want to speak. They say that they want to be global. They want all of these things, but they want it without any cost to them. You have to be willing to invest. And most of the time, the greatest investment comes from your time.
Ooh. See, every time we talk, it makes me, okay, this is going to be the last question for real. So, because I mean, this is amazing. You said like our time and our investment. And one thing that is true, I hear a lot of people who say yes, but not a lot of people who do.
Yeah.
A lot of yeses, but not a lot of do's.
Yeah.
But, so what are some systems that you would suggest that maybe help some people with the doing so that they can move forward and, multitask and all that good stuff? Yeah.
So I think that for a lot of people, one of the things that works is actually having planning sessions. I don't care if it's just planning sessions by yourself. Have a planning session. So one of the things that I do, and this is actually one of the things that my mentor had me do, is I try to isolate myself for a little bit of time, even if it's half a day or a full day. And I lock myself in a space. I turn my phone off, which most people are fearful of doing. And I just focus. And I say, what is it? What's coming up? Let me get a calendar. What are some upcoming things that I need to be mindful of? How can I take the works that I'm already that already exists, that I'm currently working on? How do I position them so they kind of fall in buckets of upcoming events that are going to happen that everybody's going to be impacted by, right? Then from that, then I look at my calendar, then I start filling in the gaps. I start dropping in and saying, okay, here I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. So give you an example. Black Women's Equal Pay Day. When I realized it was coming up, I said, okay, let me go to some of the women in our network and say, let's do some like all day. I literally did a media blitz with some amazing Black women business owners. It was all on IG. A press release went out to say, hey, this is something that this organization is doing. From there, we took it. It's on our I Am Black platform. So knowing how to take one opportunity and move it in 6 different degrees, 6 different ways.
Wow, that's right? Good.
So if you look at something, but you have the time to plan ahead, then you can say, okay, I need to schedule these interviews. This is going to go to this website. It's going to be played on social media. It's going to go to media outlets. It's going to go to the individuals that are being interviewed on their sites. It's going to be a blog post. It's going to go on LinkedIn as a story. Now you have kind of like this hectagon or whatever you want to call it of content and redistribution of things that you've already created. A lot of times we're constantly trying to reinvent the wheel, and we're so ad hoc that we're not taking the time to create the strategy. But what does the strategy look like so that when you put it all together, now you can even say, well, hey, here are my metrics. You can go to a potential sponsor and say, hey, I'm going to be doing this again next month for this event. I did it for this event in September, but I'm going to be doing it again in October. Here are the metrics. Is this something that you would like to put your brand behind? So now you have something that you can get money from. You can monetize it.
That is so good. I hope you guys got that. I mean, because if you spend time in perfecting that one thing, you can take that one thing and do 6 or 7 different things with that. But you have to spend the time planning and setting up that strategy. Wow, that is good. This has been amazing. So before we go, Angel, can you please just let everybody know one final time how they can connect with you, how they can, I don't know if you do coaching or what have you, if you offer any of those services, but if you want to just share briefly again, some of the services that you offer and how people can connect with you in the future. Let's just, someone said they love tonight. So thank you so much.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much for being here. So please follow me on social media, on all social media outlets. I am Angel in Livas. And I do offer coaching. I offer business coaching. Sorry, y'all, it's been a long day. I just finished teaching the kids. Let's see. So yes, Angel in Livas, as on the screen. Livas is the last name. All social media platforms. And yes, we do have coaching, and our website is Angel in Livas. That's my personal website. And you can also follow DC Media Connection as the website.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. This has been great. I really appreciate you. So you guys can show some hearts for Angel as she exits the stage. And I want to just say again, thank you guys for joining us. We come here. Is this the third? I'm tired myself. I think this is the third Tuesday, right? So you will see us next month. Let's just say that you're going to see us next month. And we're going to, every month at the Speaker Circle, we bring someone, an expert that is doing it and living it, to come and talk to you. And they're going to talk next month. Mr. AJ Vassiner is going to talk about how to get on the stage even if nobody knows your name. Yes. So now we learned about getting the story together. You got your story together. Now, what you got to do now, how you going to get on the stage, even if nobody knows your name? So make sure to invite someone to the Speaker Circle so that they can get involved as well, share the wealth. And again, I'm Lanice McGee, and I look forward to seeing you next month. Bye.